Hey guys, Dishsoap here with the 13.24 headliner and comp tier list. Kind of took a break on the last patch, didn't really enjoy the meta, but back for this patch. I've been practicing on the PBE for the Vegas tournament. We'll just get right into it. And if you want to reference these comps during game, then I'd like to introduce you to the Mobalytics TFT overlay. You get access to the best team comps by challenger experts, myself included, directly in-game. There are also full guides attached to each comp, as well as automatic augment data and an item cheat sheet. Click the link in the description to download. For headliners, here are the one cost. The big thing about this patch, I think the early game prio now is Heartsteel over everything. And with Heartsteel being the prio, it means other stuff like Superfan is just kind of harder to play. So with that in mind, obviously the S tier headliner is going to be Cassante. I mean, they also buff Cassante. That's another reason why. They buffed him by a lot. He has a lot less mana now. You would prefer Heartsteel Chosen, but Sentinel Chosen is also great. And then Corki is just the best DPS, so one cost. In A tier we have Yasuo. They buffed Yasuo. He's the best one cost holder for like the melee itemization. Definitely worth considering him. Kennen got nerfed, but the other headliners are still just not as good as him, so he's still an A tier. Kind of same with Lilia, like she's nothing remarkable, but I mean they didn't change Lilia at all, just Superfan opener got a little bit weaker, but she's still solid. Same with Evelyn. Jinx is alright. Only like rapid fire Jinx is what I consider though. Like Punk Jinx is usually just a skip. Annie here, it's kind of the same thing as Jinx. You sometimes buy Spellweaver Annie, so if you have like an Echo opener so you can actually get a frontline going, but usually I only buy the emo version because it gets the meta direction for free. Olaf and B, he's good with 3 items and 3 pentakill and early. Really bad otherwise. Kench, same thing. He's good when you get 3 country in. Vi is just whatever. I really dislike the disco opener, so I don't value Taric or Nami at all. Okay, I mean, if you have like a natural Taric 2 and you get disco Nami and you have AP items, like sure, you can consider it, but I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. 2-cost headliner, Senna and S tier, solo. I don't know why I moved her down last week. Like, she's still a beast. She's the best backline DPS, usually the best item holder for stuff like Shonen Red buff. True damage, Akali got buffed this patch. So that's like a way to get into her. Lets you slam true damage spat early, play around 6 true damage, whatever. Yeah, nothing else to say. Aphelios back at A just because Heartsteel's good. Get Heartsteel Aphelios, roll on level 6 for 5 Heartsteel. Very common thing you do this patch. Garen, just a solid frontliner if you need a frontliner. Cat's moving down from S tier. They nerfed her headliner ability, so she's like, I haven't really seen Cat reroll do very well at all after the patch, but as like a mid-game item holder, she's still a lot better than the other options. In A tier we have Kaisa, just good AD item holder. I don't think reroll Kaisa's good at all. You still just buy her and play her on her mid-game. Gnar, kind of same thing. I don't really have any faith in reroll Gnar, but if you get 3 Penta in, get 3 items on him, get his traits active, he can be a really solid mid-game item holder. Kaelan as well. I don't think she really, I think she got like buffed like on the A patch before the set came out, but I had her in B before. I have her in A now just because I like playing around edgelords a little bit more after like Yasuo buff, Yone buff. So I buy Kael a lot more now. Gragas and B. Honestly, I feel like Chosen, like there's no diff between Chosen Gragas and just normal Gragas. And the normal Gragas is just whatever anyways. So. And we also have Panthen B. I only really consider buying Guardian Chosen. Punk Chosen's usually a waste, but he's just mid. Seraphine and B as well, just a whatever unit. Nothing really else to say. Bard and B, they nerfed Bard a lot. I think they actually over-nerfed the Jazz line, in my opinion. It's only really playable from like very high roll spots. Yeah, I don't think Bard Chosen deserved to get nerfed, but he did. I don't think it's ever worth really rerolling Bard anymore, unless you're like Bard 3 on 3-2 or something stupid. And then in B2 we also have Twitch. There's some like weird Chinese frontline Twitch tech where you give him like Hodge, like double Hodge, and you frontline him next to a bunch of Guardians. I don't have it in my comp list because I value you guys LP, but if you really want to have fun, then I mean, you could try frontline Twitch, I guess. Jackson C. This guy just needs a buff. He's the type of unit that could easily be an A tier with just like a little bit of adjustment, but his numbers are just too low right now. And then for 3 costs in S tier, again, we have the Heartsteel units. Yone reroll is extremely meta this patch. His best headliner is Crowd Diver, then Edgelord, then Heartsteel. I don't think it's worth skipping Heartsteel Chosen usually, unless you're completely uncontested. Usually you just buy it because you need the Chosen, but he's really good. I'll talk about it later in the comps. Set's really good. I think right now he's the best 3-cost tank, and he also gives you Heartsteel. Doesn't really matter what Chosen you get for him. I think Heartsteel's the best, and then Bruiser, then Mosher, but he's just kind of a beast. If you get early set, I wouldn't recommend just keeping him around going for 3-star. It's good, but I promise you, in competent lobbies, you're not going to be able to hit 3-star sets because everyone's going to be playing around Heartsteel. And even if they're not, Set's just like a really good unit you can put on any board. In my opinion, I think he should get nerfed. And then Amumu, he's like the second best 3-cost tank. 2 Guardian, at least 2 Guardian, 2 Emo in, 9, give him 3 items. He's kind of unkillable on stage 3, early stage 4. Mord in A, you really just buy him for like his traits and the 2-star version. His like chosen effect actually not that good, but I mean he's a solid tank. A tier sure. Same thing with Nico. Really good if you're playing around like the KDA line. You have like enough damage. Say you have like a 1-star Ahri. You could even consider buying this on like level 8 in that scenario. Outside of that specific line, like the Superfan Guardian frontline usually just gets outclassed by Heartsteel. MFNA as well. They nerfed her headliner effect and Jazz, I believe, and a couple of the augments. So definitely not S tier anymore, but if you have 80 items, she's still definitely worth picking up on rolldown. Vex in A, she's the best AP 3-cost headliner because the other 2 are just mid. Echo, good tank. I don't know, nothing really else to say. He's a good tank. Usually sell him on level 8 though. Riven's okay. Okay, so the thing about Riven is like I don't really think Riven reroll's that good, but they buffed 8-bit. And also like if you're playing around these like melee, edgelord, crowd diver line, if you see like a Riven on your reroll, you probably just buy it. You item hold her for a few rounds and then you can sell her. She can like hold the line for a bit. Like say on 3-5, you level to 7, you start rolling, you see like a Riven in 2 shops, like you're gonna buy the Riven and not like just hold out for only Yone headliner, right? And then you can sell her on Wolves and then look for the Yone afterwards. I've done that like many times. Like she's not good for reroll, but she could hold the line for a lot of stuff. And if you're also playing around like Zed, Viego on level 8, she could hold the line until then, like until 4-2. But yeah, she's good at that. Urgot Samira in A tier. I mean they got the country comp got nerfed in a few different ways, so they moved down from S to A. Honestly, like I think random Samira, if you're playing like a flex board, you see a random Samira offered, unless you have LWIE or something, I probably wouldn't even buy her. She really needs the items to do work. She's not really good as like a random unique you could put in like MF is. And Urgot's okay, but the thing about Urgot is I didn't really realize this. His late game scaling is actually just abysmal. In the country comp, I pretty much stopped even itemizing him because he just does nothing come like stage 4, stage 5. But if you see like an Urgot chosen on 3-2, he's gonna be a beast for sure, right? So I think he still deserves A tier. B tier we have Lulu. I don't know. I'm never really impressed by this unit. If you have like the Superfan opener and you need like an AP holder, she's actually usually about the same or maybe even better than Vex if you're not playing her on a Mumu. But other than that, super lackluster. Same thing with Lux. She's just not good. The thing is like if you buff Lux, she's one of the champions that's super toxic because she ults backline and relies on one-shotting stuff. So if she's good, she'll just be one-shotting everything. If they try to balance her like she is now, she's gonna feel super underwhelming. And now for 4 costs, all the S tiers besides Ahri are like the best headliners that get you to level 9, but not necessarily the best headliners that are good for like rolling on 8 for a standard 4-cost comp. Like Poppy, I think especially Emo Poppy, like stabilizes you so hard it's insane. I remember one game yesterday, I had like Z1 with 3 items, chosen Emo Poppy, and I just rode that all the way to 9. I was streaking the whole time. Like I was streaking until 5-2 with like a Z1 and a Poppy 2, and the rest of my board was just Heartsteel trash. Like this Poppy unit is just basically unkillable. If you get any amount of damage with her, she just pops off. Don't really consider her as a carry, but like she can use like a random Titan, she can use a random BT, so do like 3 to 4k a fight. But the main thing about her is she's unkillable. I think her best items are like Redemption, Chain Glove. I always forget what it's called, Steadfast. Yeah, Steadfast Redemption. She has a really high health pool with Chosen, and then you throw whatever, like you just throw whatever tank items you have on her. She's just a beast though. She just never dies. Zed in S tier as well. I think EDM is probably like low A to B tier, but Crowd Diver Zed is SSS. Because you can just hard force 6 Crowd Diver, and that's like a top 2 guaranteed. 6 Crowd Diver's OP. He's the best melee carry on stage 4. If you can't get 6 Crowd Diver though, he will fall off relatively fast, but he can definitely get you into 9 where you can sell him and play around like Kiana or whatever. Or you don't have to sell him, you can just go 9, find Kiana, and then cap that way. Ezreal here as well. They buffed him this patch. Also, Heartsteel's really good. You can just, if you hit Ezreal Chosen, you can just greed like 3 to 5 Heartsteel on stage 4, use that extra Heartsteel econ to push 9, play around 5 costs. If you have like any amount of upgraded frontline, he'll cast like 2 to 3 times when you the fights. I don't necessarily think he's like the best thing in the world and you want to keep him on your board the entire game, but the best games I've had this patch are just hitting an early chosen Ezreal and then just riding that tempo all the way. That's not really the same thing with Ahri. I think Ahri is like one of the best headliners. I mean, she's good because she's good in the meta. She counters all of the melee comps. She counters Zed, she counters Viego, she counters Yone. But she's not really good at going level 9 because the KDA comp wants you to roll pretty deep at 8 for Ahri 2 and Akali 2. It's kind of hard to push 9 if you are rolling that much, but she's really good in the meta, especially KDA chosen. Spellweaver Ahri is fine, you buy her, but KDA is where the real power is at. Both Akali's in A tier. They buff true damage Akali. Whereas when you play either or, you play the KDA one if you're playing KDA, But I also think you play the KDA one if you're playing around Karthus, because it'll like lower the backline HP so Karthus can execute them. But if you're not playing around Karthus, I think the true damage one's just generally better, especially with like a true damage spat. You can play around Qiyana. And then also in A tier, we have Viego. I think he actually scales, like, usually scales better into late game than Zed. You could play around like Kayn, Yorick, all that stuff, and cap really high. But on stage 4, I would rather see a Zed chosen than a Viego chosen usually. I don't think if you edgelord or pentakill really matters between them. I think both are fine. Don't expect him to like 1v9 though. He'll just do like a good chunk of damage and tank a little bit and then die, but just make sure you have like something else in your team that can clean up. TF and A as well. You could maybe argue it's like kind of where Ahri is. I could see it, because like if you're playing around TF, then like seeing him is fantastic. But I don't know. I'm not really of the fan of like the disco board right now. Maybe I should be. Maybe I'm underrating it. I don't know. He's still good. I mean, I'm putting him in A tier. Like, it's not like I say he sucks. I just think he's less good than I thought he was a while ago. Blitz and A, just solid tank. Sentinel's usually what you want unless you're playing around TF. Then disco's good. Cait and A, they buffed her and they buffed 8-bit. I think she's a really good 80 item holder. I think she's worse than Ezreal though at going 9, but she's still solid. I would never skip her with 80 items. And then we have Thresh and A. This is mostly just Guardian Thresh. Country Thresh is sometimes viable, but Guardian Thresh with 3 items casts like 3 times. If you position him well, he can stun like the whole team pretty good. And then B2 we have Karthus. I am really not a fan of Karthus this patch. They didn't really change him outside of like executioner changes, but the reason I don't really like Karthus, I think he's just so bad into the meta. He's super, super bad into Poppy. He's so bad into Zed, because he ults the Zed clones, by the way. He just waste half his spell ulting these Zed clones. So if I think he's bad against like the 2 forecasts I value the most, like I really just don't want to play around them then, right? I also think he's usually just bad into disco. Yeah, I'm not a fan. But if you're going against like not the most capped boards of all time, you can definitely cheese some fights. And then we have Zach on C tier. I had him like on like the first video I had him in S tier. The second video I had him in A tier. I was overrating the fuck out of this unit. This unit sucks. He just isn't tanky. He doesn't stun who you want to stun. EDM is just bad. Like I don't ever buy this unit really, unless like I'm just desperate for frontline on level 8 roll down. He fucking sucks, man. And then for 5 costs, I think the best one right now is Qiyana. She got buffed like on the 8 patch a while ago. And as people have been playing the set more, it's just very, very clear that this unit is just busted. Like, if you get chosen on, like, 5-2 or earlier, chosen Qiyana, she'll just have, like, an extra 150 AD at the end of the game. Will basically just one-shot any frontliner and then give your whole team full items. Just disgusting. Doesn't really matter what chosen she has. The true damage one's slightly better, but it's fine. York and S as well. He's been untouched this whole time. He's been a beast this whole time. If you get chosen York, make sure you put in 3 penta. It's such a valuable trait for him and for like your entire team. But yeah, he's definitely a beast. The best one's penta York, obviously, because of that, but the other 2 are fine. Laoi's good. I don't think she's like the best, just because if you need a lot of damage, you need like upgraded damage to be able to buy her. Like you would need the Jhin 2, the Lucian 2, the Ziggs 2, or like your 4 costs. The 1-star 5 costs aren't really going to be enough damage most of the time. Sona's in S tier. I'm not really sure about this one. I think attack speed Sona is really, really broken. But the thing is, I think like usually 1-star Sona is enough. So do you really want to be justifying your headliner slots? Like you do get the like you get kind of like a Ginsu effect as your headliner ability, which is really, really nice. But I think usually I would prefer to have like a 1-star Sona and like a chosen York or Qiyana. I mean, honestly, I just talked myself into putting it in A tier, but she's still good. Like attack speed Sona's still really, really good. Kayn moves up to A tier. The problem with this headliner is that like +1 edgelord usually not that good if you're playing around like level 9. But if you have like Viego 2 already, it can be solid. I think Kayn's just pretty good this batch. I've been very, very satisfied whenever I have a 2-star Kayn with 3 items. He definitely pops off. I think he's worse than the other ones I talked about though. And then last 3 are just the backliners. Ziggs got a heavy nerf this patch. They basically cut his scaling in half, so he won't be like just one-shotting the board on like the 3rd and 4th casts. But I mean, he's still solid. He still dazzlers the whole team. He still MR shreds the whole team, and he can still spread like anti-heal to the whole team with red buff Morello. Just not quite the Giga Beast like he was last patch, but if you have like red buff, Morello, and AP items, you definitely buy him on level 9. Jhin and A as well. You need a lot of frontline for him to work. Definitely something I'm interested in if I have like a Laoi 2 already and a mana item, but yeah, if you don't really have frontline to him, you're gonna be really, really disappointed. He's probably like the if you don't have a good frontline, he's probably like C or D tier. If you do, he can win a lot of fights other units can't. I'm not really sure where to put Lucian. On one hand, like I'm usually kind of disappointed whenever I'm playing around him. On the other hand, like if you you level to 9, roll like once or twice, you're really saying you're gonna skip a Lucian Chosen if you have items for him? Probably not, right? Maybe he deserves B tier. Thing about Lucian is he's currently bugged right now. He doesn't even scale with attack speed like he's supposed to. He's supposed to get like extra shots on his ult with attack speed, and he literally doesn't. But he's still like not that bad. I mean, you like all you have to know is I think he's the worst, but I don't know if he deserves A or B tier. I'll just put him at end of A to be nice. And now for the comps. In S tier, we have 2 different 5-cost versions. I'll talk about them both. We have the melee centered one with like, I call it Viego 5-cost flex, and then the old standard Jazz legendary. And then also we have Crydiver Flex. This includes like Zed carry, Yone carry, kind of Viego carry. And then we have a KDA, Ahri, and Akali. Viego 5-cost Flex, what you're doing here, it's just a level 9 board when you're playing around like the melee itemization. Pretend like you're level 8, you would probably just not have like the Soda, you wouldn't have the Alawi or something. You can pretend like the Kiana's a Zed. But basically it's like when you stabilize on 8 around Zed or Viego and you can push 9, and you can play around like Kayn, Kiana, Sona, Yorick. You're obviously not going to get items for all of them most of the time, unless you're high rolling, but usually it's itemized who if you're upgrading, and that's usually going to be enough. The way you get into a spot like this is usually just Heartsteel. I think Heartsteel is the best opener for basically every comp because it gives you the extra resources and the econ to be able to push levels and be really, really strong. Yeah, it's just another version of the 5-cost board. I think in an ideal scenario, you're itemizing Yorick, Kiana, and Kayn, and you have like 1 Ginsu or something on the Sona so she can cast. Also for Sona, for the rest of the video, just assume I'm attack speed Sona. I basically always do attack speed Sona, and yeah, that's about it. I don't know. I feel like I should be saying more about this comp, but I don't really know what else to say. Like, there's a lot I can say, but it's just kind of hard to make it concise. But yeah, there's like a lot of flex slots. Like, if you have Penta chosen, you don't need the Kale. If you have Ezreal chosen, you can like add a Yone or something. It's super, super flexible, but really good. Next is just the standard 5-cost board you played last patch around Jazz, Ziggs, all the other stuff. Like this is just the standard pastime board. These are the flex slots. You can either play Set for Bruiser Mosher or Senna for true damage rapid fire. Usually you do Senna if you have like Kiana 2. Usually do Set otherwise. Yeah, just the standard 5-cost board. Attack speed Sona. Both these are just really, really good. I wouldn't really consider one to be that much better than the other. I will say though that like this one is like usually more stable earlier because you're stabling, like usually you get to 9 and you're stabilizing around like Viego or Z2, whereas this is usually just like the one where you have a bunch of econ and you fast 9 with almost nothing. Next comp to more simple comps, so we have Crydiver Flex. This includes Yone reroll. It includes just 6 Crydiver Zed carry. I think the best version is Yone reroll, but the thing is about this patch is it's going to be really, really hard to hit Yone 3. All of the Viego players will play Yone, all the Zed players will play Yone, and then also anyone playing Heartsteel for like greedy Heartsteel for like stage 4 will probably just hold Yone, and they probably won't sell until like stage 5 or something. So you're gonna have to be really, really lucky to hit Yone in this meta, but if you can hit 3-star Yone, he's a beast. I think BIS Yone is double healing +1. The +1 can be GS, IE, LW, Titans, QSS, Edge of Night. I don't think it matters that much. It probably just depends on matchup. For example, Edge of Knight's best against Ahri, QSS best against like Thresh Echo, GSIE pretty interchangeable, LW is good if you don't have like enough items to like slam LW on like a secondary unit. Usually I prefer Zed duo carry, but if you have stuff like red buff LW, I like itemizing Viego because he can spread them really, really well. If you can't go for Yone 3, you can just use Yone as an item holder, swap him out on level 8, carry like Zed or Viego in this kind of shell, and then push levels, and then you can even like transition into like this board like I talked about earlier. It's kind of S tier just because I think Yone 3 is S tier, but it can also just be a good transition into the 5-cost stuff. Very, very solid line. Definitely a sword prio. Definitely want to play around Heartsteel. Also, if you have a Crydiver chosen, it's always 6 Crydiver. Next one's like easy comp, just KDA, Ahri, Akali. This comp didn't see any buffs, but like I said earlier, Ahri is just really, really good into the meta. I am aware that blue buff is currently bugged. I forgot the exact way it's bugged, but you just lose the bonus damage for like the rest of the fight after like the fight's like 8 seconds after the fight starts. Like it depends on like whatever like the timing of when she kills stuff. I'm not the best at describing how it works, but you lose the bonus damage very, very fast to the fight. But the thing is, I think it's still better than Shojin, even if you lose the bonus damage, because like the first few casts you have are usually the most impactful, and like the mana's the exact same. I think if you're playing on Ahri, blue buff is still better, but obviously slamming Shojin's fine. Play around Akali duo carry. I really like red buff Akali, red buff healing +1, and then take Echo or Nico. But yeah, really, really good into this meta. Ahri will basically 2-shot any melee carry, even 3-star Yone. She'll just 2-shot them. Also, I think Gunblade can be GS, or if it's you have Superfan, it'll be a Rabadon's, but I think Nashor's... I actually, honestly, Nashor's is more important than the mana item, by the way. Forgot to mention that. Nashor's prio first, then mana item, and then GS or Gunblade. In A tier, we have Disco TF, not going to go over too much. Same as last patch. Ideally, you hit a Disco Chosen, you can get 6 Disco. On 9, you drop the Taric for 5 costs. Like, oh, also it's Senna over Lulu. And then you drop Taric for 5 costs, like Ziggs, Bard, with the Jazz, Yorick, Yana. It's whatever you hit, really. And yeah, easy comp. If you hit early TF, if you hit like TF2, Blitz 2 on early on level 8, you're chilling. Otherwise, I think this comp kind of falls off. Next in A tier, this is like low A tier. It's Sentinel Caitlyn. You do 6 Sentinel with a Sentinel +1 chosen, but if you don't, you can just drop this, play 4 Sentinel, and then, I don't know, fill with legendaries, fill with, I actually like double Caitlyn a lot. I think double Caitlyn's usually the best secondary carry for her. It's just kind of hard to do other stuff, but you can maybe do Ezreal. You can do 5 costs like Lucian, obviously. Yana can fit in this as well. I have just Sona in here because Sona fits on every board. I think BIS Cait is IELW. I think maybe you want Chojin on her. The stats on Chojin are like really, really bad though. Intuitively, I would build Chojin on her, but red buff might just give you enough attack speed to cast whenever you want anyways, and then she spreads it pretty well. She hits 4 units when she casts, and you just want the bonus damage. Like, I could see this being BIS. Tank on Blitzcrank, and yeah, they buffed 8-bit, they buffed Caitlyn, so this comp's actually playable now, but just not like super OP. True Damage Senna reroll, also in A tier. Only do this if you have early Senna Chosen and like you're close to hitting Senna 3. If you hit like Senna Chosen on like 3-2 and you only have like 4 Sennas or something, don't hard force this. Just use the Senna Chosen to push levels. This is really only like broken if you get a true damage spat, because then you can true damage spat like Caitlyn or Lucian or even sometimes Karthus, and get like a trio carry setup. But the reason this comp got a lot better is that Senna is really, really good at shutting down the melee carries this set, since the melee carries will be all clumped up and she'll just ult them and do a bunch of AoE damage. And they also buff true damage Akali, so now she has a reliable duo carry. I don't even think you have to play Superfans. It's just kind of easy with Kennen being there. But you could reasonably drop Nico and Lilia for like fresh Blitz or something. Just play 2 4-cost tanks instead. That sounds actually pretty good, because you're not even getting KDA in the setup because we're true damage Akali, and there's not really any good flex KDA units. You can fit in Jazz with Lucian, you can play random Sona, random Yorick, lots of flex stuff you can do. But yeah, Senna's really good into the meta. Akali buffed, definitely a solid comp, consider it with like 5 to 6 Sennas early. And here is like, actually, I think this version is the better version of TF if you are stuck on level 8. It's the Ezreal TF duo carry. Now, I would only consider this with a Heartsteel opener, but it's like the best way in a Heartsteel opener you can play around AP and AD itemization or backline itemization. Like a common setup, what you'll do is you'll play around like Heartsteel with like Set, Cassante, Aphelios, and then you have Senna and Aphelios hold your items, and then your Senna items can go on TF, and then your Aphelios items can go on Ezreal. This way you just have like an AD AP duo carry setup, good frontline. You just fill in MF Bard for Jazz. Fits really, really, really well. If you're low HP, you obviously don't have to run the Cassante. You can run the Echo. If it's like Disco Chosen or something, you can drop it for like 5 Disco or something. If you get like a Big Shot Chosen, you can drop it for 4 Big Shot. If it's Sentinel Chosen, you can like drop Set for 4 Sentinel, Echo 2 or something. Super flexible for sure. It's not really something I would play if I'm trying to push level 9, but if your heart's stuck low late, this can definitely be a board you can roll for. I think it's really solid. And then an A tier with Superfan Jazz. Not going to go over it because this was like meta last patch. Honestly, like I think A tier might be overrating it, but I actually have seen it do okay. You really, really need to be like ahead of tempo though. This is not a comp you can lose streak. This is a comp where you have to be ahead the whole time and hit MF3 early. Just because of the nerfs, like she's not really stable at 2-star that much anymore. It's kind of outdated. I don't think you ever itemize Bard now after the Bard headliner nerfs. Just tank on MF Echo, or tank on Nico Echo, damage on MF. If you can hit MF3 early, you can push levels for like the Ziggs, Lucian, and you can get items on these. It's definitely not bad, right? It's just way harder to get into that setup now, and you'll lose to a lot more boards. But I don't know if it deserves B tier or A tier. I just put it in A tier. Country roll, also A, got a fair amount of nerfs. They nerfed, I believe, like 4 Executioner, 3 and 5 Country, and Samira Headliner. So it's a lot of nerfs, but they're not actually that big of nerfs in like the grand scheme of things. The main thing though is that this comp is basically unplayable if you're playing it from behind. It has to, it's basically only a win streak comp, and you need to like BIS early, Senna 3 relatively early, but if you can snowball, like, it definitely can do okay. The main thing though that I didn't really talk about last time I talked about this comp is that Urgot itemization is basically worthless. I think it's Senna or Samira prio, and then tank item prio, and then Vex item prio. Vex is a much better duo carry than Urgot because she actually does something in the late game. Urgot just tickles the enemy team and then dies. If you can hit a Mumu 3, Samira 3, Vex 3, you can definitely top 3. Top 2ing is a different story, but with good augments you can for sure. Also in A tier is Karthus Akali. Personally, I am not a fan of this board. I do not like playing around Karthus, but I don't think it's that bad if you hit everything upgraded. The Vex Twitch are super flexible slots that can be 5 cost. Also the front line's flexible. You could do like a Poppy Thresh setup instead of like a lot of the stuff. It doesn't really matter that much. Yeah, but the main thing is though you're giving AP items to Karthus, 80 items to Akali. Akali dashes backline, Karthus finishes them off. The problem though with Karthus is that he ult Z clones. He's not really good at killing super tanks like Poppy or TFs or like even like stack Threshes. He also falls off late game as soon as people get Alawi online, then he's just ulting tentacles, and then Akali's dashing into tentacles, and then you lose all your DPS. But if you hit this board on like 4-2 or something, and you can go 9, sell his ass for like Ziggs, it's okay. I don't like, obviously, I mean the thing is like this board is too good to be B tier, but I just don't like playing on Karthus, man. Just personal preference. In B tier we have a couple of reroll comps. I'll just go over them because they're easy to play, but I don't think they're that good. Annie moved down to B tier from S tier just because of one simple change. They made her Superfan item a JG instead of a Shojin, and that just makes her a lot weaker. The broken thing about Annie was the double Shojin interaction, basically letting her cast like within 1 auto or something, if I remember correctly. It was either 1 or 2. I kind of forgot. But it made her like chain cast, and now she can't do that anymore. Like if you hit early enough, you can fast time with her. And also if you want to stick with the Annie, you can just drop Superfan now, which gives you another way to cap. Like you can drop those 2 units for I don't know, better stuff, like 5 cost or just 4 cost tanks, and then just go double Shojin naturally to get the Shojin interaction back. But it's not that brain dead to play anymore, or not that brain dead easy. And then next we have Punk Reroll. I've never been a fan of this comp, but it's super straightforward to play. Play around 4 Punk, Jinx carry, you can do Twitch or Vex duo carry items on Pantheon or Amumu. And if you hit Punk spats, and you hit everything 3-star, and you can push like level 8, level 9, you can maybe top 2. But I actually have never seen a Punk player go above 3rd in all of my games, so take that as you will. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Just as a quick recap, in S tier, we have the 2 5-cost boards, the melee-centric board and the backline-centric board. And then also we have Crowd Flex, which includes Yone reroll, Zed and Viego carry, KDA, Ahri, and Akali duo. Then A tier, we have Disco TF, Sentinel Caitlyn, True Damage, Senna reroll, Ezreal TF duo carry, Superfan Jazz, Country, Karthus Akali, and then B tier, Superfan Annie, and Punk. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I feel like I yapped more than I usually did this video, but I don't know, man. Making tier lists for this set is kind of hard because I feel like these boards are just like they're not cookie cutter boards, right? Last set I could tell you just play 7 or 8 of the same units every single game and it would be correct, but this set it depends on like so many different things. That's like usually good for gameplay, but it's hard when you're making tier list content. So I hope you guys get some kind of value out of this. It's definitely not as straightforward as it used to be. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Peace.